Christians make up about 14% of the majority Muslim country's overall population. Joining us right now to talk more about the Holy Father's planned trip is Elise Allen, senior correspondent for Crux. Hi, Elise.
Hi, Christine.
So, Elise, this is all part of Pope Francis's plan to continue dialogue with the Muslim world. It's something he did on his recent trip to Kazakhstan, and you traveled with the Pope there. What has he said about this?
Well, as dialogue with the Muslim community has been sort of a pillar of Francis's papacy from the beginning. Ever since his election in 2013, he's really made an effort to reach out to the Muslim community and to the Islamic world as a whole. I think in part because of the rise of Islamic terrorism that kind of accompanied the beginning of his papacy. He really wanted to, as he would say, build bridges with that community. And he's done that consistently in speeches and in messages and in events and in trips. As you mentioned, he did that again in Kazakhstan earlier this month. He was there for an interfaith summit, a very high-profile one with religious leaders and even civil leaders from all over the world, to really talk about the importance of dialogue and building peace throughout the world. And so, he constantly brings this up, especially when he's talking to Christians who are a minority in a Muslim country. He really drives this point home of the need to make dialogue and to build bridges with different faith communities, especially with the Islamic communities. When you're in an Islamic country, so that's really important that you guys know how to interact and to dialogue and to build bridges. And he often comes out against the idea that all Muslims are terrorists. And he's talked about that. That's a point he's brought up consistently in his comments about interreligious dialogue. He's been careful to say not all Muslims are terrorists. We need to be careful of that. And we also have to condemn that when it happens. And so he's been clear about that too. And he brought up that point as well in Kazakhstan. And
Right.
Perhaps we can hear him make a similar point in Bahrain.
Right, and while Bahrain is made up mostly of Muslims, it is home to the Gulf's first Catholic church and its biggest one, which we just talked about, Our Lady of Arabia Cathedral. Bahrain is relatively tolerant when it comes to religion compared to some of its neighbors. So what will the Holy Father's message be to the Christians living there?
Oftentimes when the Pope goes to countries where the Christians are a minority, he really tries to encourage them, to build them up. And he did this in Kazakhstan as well, because they're a minority there also. But he says, don't be afraid of your small numbers. Don't let that stop you. Keep going, keep doing your work, keep moving forward, and don't be discouraged. And so he really is offering a message of encouragement, and he'll talk a lot about peace. And again, the importance of dialogue, because when Christians are a minority, that point of dialogue is so important for him. He's really the Pope of building bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something I really think that he's also going to do when he travels to Bahrain at the beginning of next month, November.
Right, in November. Francis met with the King of Bahrain back in 2014 at the Vatican, and a big theme of that discussion was peace in the Middle East. So how much influence does Pope Francis really have in this area of the world?
Well, that's a good question, Christine. And I think that, in terms of all Christian leaders, the Pope being the leader of the Catholic Church, just by virtue of leading so many millions of people, has a certain authority that other Christian churches don't have. So I think that in itself brings a lot of authority, just holding the office that he does. But also, again, his consistent outreach to the Muslim community, I think, has really brought his message home to the Muslim community, especially in the Middle East. His constant preaching about peace, and in his trip to Iraq a couple of years ago was historic. It was his first trip, the first trip of a pope ever to the country, and I think that really sent a strong signal about his desire to engage. And I think when he speaks, people really listen in the Middle East. I think the religious leaders are very much paying attention to what he has to say.
All right, Elise Allen, senior correspondent for Crux. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Christine. It's a pleasure.
Hi, I'm Christine Persichetti, anchor of Currents News. If you like what you saw, please hit the like button on this video. And if you want to see more content just like it, subscribe and click on the bell for notifications. Thanks for watching, because we are putting your faith in the news.